A sweetheart neckline is one of the trendy necklines of all times, which can be applied on corporate wears, bridal wears, and owambe dresses. Some research has also shown that this neckline is the most used neckline on owambe and Aso-Ebi dresses, and this is peculiar to Africa, Nigeria in particular. However, a sweetheart neckline can either be used as a standalone neckline or combined with other necklines like off the shoulder, keyhole, strapless, and yoke neckline. So, in this tutorial, I will be focusing on a sweetheart neckline combined with yoke. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, this is Reggie School of Fashion. If you are yet to subscribe to my channel, kindly subscribe now so that you won't miss out any of my subsequent videos. Without further ado, let's set the ball rolling. In making a sweetheart neckline with yoke, two different fabrics with contrasting colors are needed. Like you can see this is my African print, and I will be using this white lace as the yoke. So you have to take note of your colors when combining two different fabrics together. So this is where color manipulation comes in. So I will be needing my basic bodice block in constructing my sweetheart neckline. In case you don't know how to draft a basic bodice block, or you don't know whether you are doing it right or wrong, I have a video, a full tutorial on how to draft a basic bodice block. It's a masterclass and it's free, part 1, 2, and 3. So the link to the videos will be available in the description box under this video. Now I'll be transferring my basic bodice block on a fresh pattern paper. Now I've transferred my basic bodice block on a fresh pattern paper, and I will be working on the front bodice only. When drafting a sweetheart neckline with yoke, your neckline will be in two levels. The first neckline will be at the upper part, that is a normal neckline you have beside the shoulder line, while the second neckline will be on the chest level. Now this is it. When you are drafting a sweetheart neckline with yoke, you have to tell your client or whoever you're sewing for, this is not a neckline of, I don't want my cleavage to open, I don't want my chest to show. If you draft this pattern in such a way the cleavage will not open, it will not look nice, it will look odd. So that is why you see some sweetheart neckline looking odd. The shape will not really come out well, so you will not really get the shape. So based on this, the minimum you can use for the second neckline level is to stop on the chest level. You will see some that can go as low as the bust level, but averagely it is good on the chest level. Anything above the chest level will not look nice. So this is the first neckline level, which is the basic neckline depth I have here, and this is the second neckline level, which is the chest level. So I'll come to the first neckline level. I'll be grading this to a normal neckline because this is just a basic neckline. What I have from the center to this point is 3 inches. I'll add 1 inch to it to make it 4 inches. Then the depth as well, I will add 0.5 inches. That is 3.5 inches for the depth. So this is because we are combining two different necklines together. When you are combining two different necklines together, when one is busy, the other one has to be simple. So you don't combine two busy necklines together. Combination of two busy necklines will not come out well. So for this reason, this first level neckline will be a perfect round neckline. That is number 1. Number 2 is the first neckline should not be too deep. So which means there should be enough room for the second neckline to breathe, so that there will be the beauty of the necklines will really come out well. So that is why I use 3.5 inches for the depth and 4 inches for the width, which is okay for all average figure. So when I'll be connecting the points together to make a perfect, I want to make a perfect round neckline. So what I'm doing is reconstructing my round neckline. So that is what I'm doing. So with this, what I have is a perfect round neckline. So this is well explained into details in my video on how to draft a basic bodice block. I showed you how to make a perfect round neckline for your basic neckline. So I'm erasing the basic neckline I have there. Okay, so I have my first neckline level settled already. This is the first neckline level. So the next step is to create the sweetheart neckline on the chest level. And because it is a sweetheart neckline, I will be coming down by either 2 or 2.5 inches, or preferably I will stop on the bust level. This is my neckline, second neckline depth, but in creating the curve, which is the sweetheart, I need some inches below the chest level, which will help the curve to come out well. So that is why I'll be making use of this, my armhole curve ruler, and the positioning goes thus. Can you see what I have? The tip of my ruler is touching the bust level. This is because I want it to get to the bust level. If you don't want yours to get to the bust level, you can just measure the exact value you want. If it is 1 inch, if it is 1.5, if it is 2 inches. But anything below 2 inches will not come out well. Anything below 2 inches. So I will advise you don't use lesser than 2 inches. From my chest level to my bust level, what I have is more than 2 inches. Yeah, it's more than 2 inches. So the deeper this sweetheart neckline is, the more beautiful it looks. That is just the secret. If it is not deep, it will not look nice. The more it's deep, the more beautiful it looks. So that is why it is not for somebody that doesn't want her body to expose. If you are trying to make it in such a way the body will not really expose, just like one side of the cleavage will be showing. So that is the beauty of sweetheart neckline. It is not just a matter of I like it, I want it. So it should be a matter of understanding this neckline you are choosing, this is the result. If you don't want it like so, the result will not be like this particular one you are showing me. So I'm taking this to the bust level. So from my chest level downward to my bust level is like 2 inches and 1/4, but you can go as lower as 2 inches. So now I'll be showing you different shapes I will have if it does not get up to the bust level. But let me create this first. So the positioning of my ruler goes thus. You can see my cup side is towards the center front and it touches the edge of the bust level. So my curve ruler touches the edges of my bust level, and because the chest level is in neckline depth, so that is where it's stopping. Then I will construct the curve. And you see how beautiful the neckline comes out. So let's assume I don't want to come down to the bust level. I want to use 1 inch. Then I measured my 1 inch. So which means I'll be constructing the curve from this 1 inch point. This is what I will have. Very small curve. So this is where the issue arises. Can you see how small this curve is? After cutting it out and you construct it, it will not be obvious you cut out a straight-out neckline because the curve is too small. So this style, it is not for somebody that doesn't want her body to expose, in order to avoid this issue of what I ordered versus what I got. But if you know what you're doing as an established fashion designer, you should be able to recommend styles for your clients based on their look, their belief, and how they like to dress. So I'll be stopping this on the bust level and erase the 1 inch curve I drew. Then we are good. The neckline is ready and I will cut it out. So after trimming it off, I will now separate the yoke from the bodice. So this is the pattern and I'll be separating the yoke from the bodice. So what I have from the chest level, like so, curve down to the bust level, is what I'll be using as the yoke. So I'll be flipping this over in order to find it easier to cut. So it's just like subtraction, you subtract, then you add it back. So that's the height there. So whatever you cut out from this upper part, from the beginning to the last edge, this is for the yoke. So whatever you cut out from the upper part is what you'll be returning back to the lower part. If you trim off anything from here, it will reflect when you are joining the two together. Because you subtracted this, you have to add it back. So you must have it exactly the way you cut it out. And another thing you need to know is when you are making a sweetheart neckline with yoke, you must use your lining, and not just ordinary lining, a very good one that can last longer. So this is the lining I will be using, and this is the net I will be using in cutting the yoke, and I will be using this African print for the down parts of the neckline. So this is the lower part of the neckline, so I'll be adding a seam allowance all around the shape. So I'm adding a seam allowance of 0.5 inch. So by the side also, I did seam allowance. Don't forget to add your seam allowance all around the pattern. So I'm just doing this to show you where it is important to add your seam allowance. The neckline, you have to add the seam allowance. So the seam allowance is what I will be using in joining this together. While cutting your sweetheart neckline, make sure you follow the shape. The fabric should know the shape because of cutting. The shape. I'm placing notches on my fabric. I will notch my dart points. So I'll be using this as pattern to cut the lining. I'm placing notches on the lining as well. When you are making a full top, make sure the length of your lining is shorter than the length of your fabric. So you can reduce it by 1 to 1.5 inches. Okay. The next step is to cut out the yoke, and I'll be making use of this bridal tool. You can call it bridal tool and you can call it bridal net. So this is different from normal tool that we have. This is a normal tool that we have. It's different. They are not the same. So this part of the sweetheart neckline with yoke is very important, and maybe you have been trying it different times or times without number, cross-checking your pattern, and you notice your pattern, your drafting is correct. Still, the neckline did not come out too well. So this may be the area you have been getting it wrong. What type of fabric are you using for your yoke? Not all fabrics can be used for yoke. Tool is not meant to use for yoke. So you can use, instead of using a tool, even though you want to use a plain fabric, instead of using a tool as your yoke, you can use a corset mesh. If you don't want to use a lace fabric like this, you can use a corset mesh. Corset mesh is plain and very soft on skin. It's not harsh on skin. Or you use skin net, the one that will make the skin to blend with the fabric. It will not be obvious there is fabric together with the neckline. So if you cannot use a bridal lace, you can use corset mesh or skin net. If you use two, the results will not look nice. That is just the truth. Secondly, any of the fabrics you choose to use, you have to run a test on your fabric. When we have a corset mesh, if you use a corset mesh, you use a bridal lace, you use a skin net, there will always be the stretchy part of the fabric. Can you see what I'm having? This is stretchy, though not much stretchy, but it is stretchy a little compared to this side. This is not stretching at all, but this is a little bit stretchy. So the stretchy side of your fabric should fall on your horizontal measurement. So which means this is the part that is stretching. So this is the way I will position my pattern, and not like this. If I cut it like this, the yoke will not stay fit. It will not stay well on the body. So I will position it like this. So my horizontal measurement will fall on the stretchy side of the lace. That is number 2. Number 3 is, after positioning your pattern this way, you have to reduce your measurements. This is what will make this to look fit on the body. I have seen some sweetheart neckline with yoke, whereby the upper parts will be very loose, like it will look puffy. It will not firm on body. So you have to reduce this measurement in order to make this firm. So now I'm placing my pattern now. I'll be adding my seam allowance, and because I said I have to reduce my measurement, instead of adding 1 inch, I will add 0.5. Anywhere I want to pick 1 inch as my seam allowance, I'll add 0.5. And if there's anywhere I will be picking 0.5, I will not add seam allowance at all. Like on the neckline, I will be needing 0.5. I will not add. Here on the shoulder line, I will be needing 0.5. I will not add. The lower part of the neckline, I will be needing 0.5. I will not add any seam allowance. Then on the armhole, 0.5, I will not need seam allowance. If you want to add 1 inch, you want to use 1 inch as your seam allowance, so which means you will be adding 0.5 all around. So by the time I take away 0.5 from this measurement, it will help the fabric to stay fit on the body. Now I've pinned my pattern together with my fabric. As you can see, I position my pattern in such a way the horizontal measurement falls on the stretchy part of the fabric. This is the stretchy part of my fabric, and this is the horizontal side of my pattern. Horizontal measurements are measurements taken from the center front towards the side. Now I'm done with the cutting of my fabric. This is my African print, this is the lining, and this is the yoke. So I will be showing you how to align the three together. Firstly, I will place my lining, the right side of my lining. This is the wrong side of my lining. And this is the right side of my lining. So the right side of my lining facing the right side of my fabric. Now I've pinned my lining together with my fabric, as you can see, and I marked out 0.5 inch of my seam allowance all around the shape of the neckline. So I'll be stitching this on my machine before attaching the yoke. So I'm almost done joining the lining and the fabric together. Now I've joined the lining and the fabric together, right side facing the right side. So the next step is to top stitch on the lining. So the seam allowance will be facing towards the direction of the lining, like so. I will notch the center of the neckline, which is the midpoint. I will open it up like so downward. So when it is about to get to the seam, I will stop. And I will top stitch on the other side as well. Now I'm done top stitching. The next step is to notch my seam allowance. So I'm done notching on the seam allowance. So as you can see, I can turn the lining easily on the wrong side. So I'll give this a good press. So after giving it a press, then I will attach the yoke. So this is how I will be attaching the yoke. So this is the wrong side of my yoke, and this is the right side of my yoke. My fabric will be overlapping the yoke like so. Then I will stitch on the edge. This is the easier method of attaching yoke to your sweetheart. So this is easier and faster. Now I've given my neckline a good press, and I will be attaching the yoke. So when I get to the midpoint, I will stop, lift up my presser foot, and turn my fabric. So I'm done with the stitching. So guys, this is the final output of our sweetheart neckline with yoke. I quickly pinned this on my mannequin for you guys to see. I want you to try yours and share your experience with me at the comment section. Also, feel free to drop your questions, as I'll be so glad to attend to them all. Till we meet in my next video, when I will be dropping another valuable content from my wealth of knowledge. Always remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.